Okay? Do you have any questions about this? Because I want to do more with this, but first, if you have any questions or doubts or concerns, I'd like to deal with those and maybe get a few examples. Go ahead.
I discovered that we have different definition about boundaries.
Okay.
Because for me, boundaries is an empty space that keeps me safe.
Yeah.
And with my friends, for example, I don't have boundaries.
Yeah.
For Anwar and for Jim, boundaries, it could mean that with your friend, you've got boundaries and you've got these people inside.
Okay.
And I don't have these boundaries.
That's fine. That's just a different way to do it.
Okay.
That's fine. See, part of the fun of doing this, especially in a group, is you find, oh gosh, people have lots of different ways of doing this. And the more examples you have, the more wonderful possibilities you have for yourself. So you could try doing what they do, and they could try doing what you do. You know, how is it different to just feel like, oh, the boundaries just melt away, and they don't even exist, which is what you do, right? And what's the difference between that and maintaining your boundary, but just opening it up to include some other people? There are only different ways of thinking about this. And if they result in different behaviors that you find useful and your state is useful, then wonderful. Then you can try out something else. And just like all the other things that we do, most of us have gotten these things by accident, essentially. We go through life, we're raised in a family, and the family has different people in it, and we learn, and we see people on television and all the rest, and we kind of pick this up. And isn't it interesting? Everybody has some kind of boundary, as far as I know. Now, psychiatrists talk about people with boundary problems, and I've been really interested to try and get a hold of some of those too, because I wonder if my description would be the same as theirs, or if I would have something to offer them. I'm not sure. So what else? Is there anything else you'd like to bring up before I put you to work doing some more?
Well, this is slightly irrelevant, but I'm interested in your cougar boundary, because my wife, when we talked on the phone this morning, she told me she'd seen a cougar up there where she's staying in snow bass.
Uh-huh.
So I'm curious, what do you do, and is a boundary put?
Well, what do you do if a cougar comes?
Yeah.
Oh, you make yourself look as big as possible, and you don't look them in the eye. So if there's something handy, you hold it up over your head like this, and they don't make very good distinctions. And if a very large animal is coming toward them, or a very large animal is there, they don't consider it prey. If you're a very small animal, they consider it prey. And the other thing is, if you look in the eyes, it's a challenge. So you don't look at their eyes. So you look down at the ground next to them, and you make yourself look as big as possible, and then you very slowly back up, move away. Now, if they attack you, of course, you try to kill them. But usually.
You can beat them off.
What's that?
A lot of people do beat them off.
Yeah. If you got a stick or a rock or something like that. I heard of one example, which is really fascinating, where the animal tried to bite his hand, and he just shoved his whole arm down the animal's throat and choked him. Now that's, I don't know if I'd have the presence of mind to do that. Now, it brings up an interesting situation, though, or an interesting topic or theme here. If you know what to do, you don't need so much boundary. If a threat is unknown, or it's so large that you can't do anything about it, or you can't really meet it with some set of behaviors, that's when you really need a boundary to keep you safe, because you really need it, because you don't know what to do. You don't have a set of behaviors that would cope with the situation. If you have a set of behaviors that cope with the situation, often you can relax your boundaries. Think of anything, well, that's enough. Yeah.
Alessandra had a very interesting, she said, when there's some unknown threat, like if there were a noise, she's at home in her apartment by herself and there were noise, she would be proactive and try to close the get information, move towards first.
Yeah.
And then if she was something she could do about it, she'd probably continue to move forward.
Oh, she's bigger than me.
What is it?
Or he or she is bigger than me.
Yeah.
And then I ran away.
Yeah.
My first.
But your first thing is to go toward it and find out more about it. Yeah.
Which is, I thought,
That's crazy.
No, it's great. I think it's good. Yeah, okay, anything else?
Well, I found for myself that the boundary doesn't exist with people until they face me.
Uh-huh.
And then I find that once I get to know somebody's name, that relaxes it for me.
Huh, just knowing their name.
Yeah, if someone walks into my bar and I don't know them, I want to know what their name is.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it easier to serve them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I don't know who they are and I don't know their name, then it's hard to engage with them.
Mm-hmm. So it's sort of an initial rapport move of beginning to connect and
Yeah, yeah.
and have something with them. Okay? We'll go into that in more detail later.
I'm a little bit curious because I found out a difference between if I don't know a person,
Mm-hmm.
I usually have big boundaries
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not. I
Keep
don't
you
know
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't happen always.
Mhm.
Because I had this example in this class, and at first I didn't know anyone of this class,
Mm-hmm.
and I have big boundaries with some of them, and I don't have boundaries since the first day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why there is this difference.
Let me see if I understand you. You're saying that when you came into this course, the first day you had big boundaries?
Yeah.
Okay, but the next day, no.
No, I have big boundaries just with someone.
A few
and
people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also have this difference. I have this difference between man and female.
Mm-hmm.
I've got usually big boundaries with female and not with male.
Mm-hmm.
And between male, I don't have boundaries with some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and I have boundaries with others.
Sure.
But the first day, I didn't know anyone.
Right. So you had boundaries with everyone then the first day?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, that makes sense. As you got to know people, and probably there were some general frames and understandings set here that established some kind of safety, that you know certain things would be okay and other things not. And a lot of that is nonverbal, just how a person, you know, the first trainer, or how, I don't know who you heard the first day, but what? Jan Prince, great. Well, she's a very warm, open woman and a lot of capability, and certainly she's the kind of person who would engender feeling of safety and so on, right? And then, you know, we all have our assumptions and sometimes prejudices about what kind of person is safe and what kind of person is not. If you just saw someone, if I just showed you a picture of someone on a screen, probably some of you would think, oh, I can be safe with this person, and others of you would say, no, I don't think so. So we all have assumptions based on our past histories and so on about what kind of person would be okay and what not.
I think there's also awareness, a very subtle awareness of the other person's boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
how they are.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I've certainly found that in Asia, because I mixed a lot of different people, been there for 20 years now. And you learn to appreciate when and when not,
Mm-hmm. To approach someone.
and how.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with individuals too, there are different.
I'm sorry, what was the last?
With individuals too, I believe that there are, I sense, different degrees of physical closeness and so on.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Yeah.
In Feldenkrais training, we have a section on psychogeography.
Mm-hmm.
That is how to approach a person, what side is somehow access what side there you can approach somebody on, and how to approach.
How do you determine this?
Well, it wasn't very specific,
Oh.
but
Okay.
after some practice, there were some minimal cues
Mm-hmm.
that we pick up on with each other,
Mm-hmm.
like which eye you're looking out of, dominant eye or dominant ear,
Okay.
or how the person.
And how would you do that? Let's say I looked at you and I say, I think your dominant eye is your right eye. Then how would I respond?
Well, you could try to move a little bit to this way and see if I followed you well or not, or move a little bit to that way.
Okay.
And as you come closer,
Okay.
it's kind of like from distant, from far to near, and then as you approach the person, how they respond to you.
How they respond to your
Yeah.
behavior.
Right.
Uh-huh. Okay, sure.
Mike's not on.
Okay.
Steve, your mic's not on.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was snorting.
kind of, okay. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is start experimenting more. First, in this first exercise, you just kind of figured out what's there, right? Did you start playing a little bit? Some of you started playing a little bit. Well, now I want you to play a little more. Be outrageous. What if you make your boundary bright purple with little sparkles in it? What would that do? And you just try it out. Just try out lots of stuff. And especially, you have already a little bit of experience of the differences between the people in your group. Go back to the same group and try on what you learned, like, let's see, Anwar, you were with Alessandra, and try out each other's way of doing it. So you try out keeping your boundaries, but just including someone else. Well, what's that like? How is it different? And you try just dissolving them. Imagine it's raining and the boundary's made of sugar and it just kind of dwindles off to nothing or something like that. Try changing where the boundary is and in and out in a particular situation, and how does that alter how you feel, and basically go by your feelings. What do you like? What feels safe to you? What feels good to you? And change, give it a different sound. If your boundary had a sound, what would it be? Something like that. And then try changing the sound like that. Does that make it better or worse? And just explore. And get outrageous. Just try all sorts of stuff. What if your boundary, if let's say you have a particular boundary in a situation and some kind of threat comes from one side, can you harden it on that side only? It doesn't have to be the whole boundary. You can make finer distinctions and just have it sort of get hard on this side, or tough, or somehow find out what helps you. If you have a rigid boundary, try a loose, more soft boundary, more energy field boundary. Digital and analog is an interesting thing to explore. Some people have like a mylar boundary. It's like a very thin boundary, and so someone is either in or out. Other people have a more analog boundary, like a magnetic field, and they come out here and you have a little bit of concern, and they come a little farther, a little more, a little more, a little more, and they get real close. Now it's time to do something. Whereas other people, it's very digital. It's like, if it's beyond this, you don't pay any attention. As soon as they come inside, suddenly, got to make a big response. Just play with boundaries and see what you get, and then we'll come back and I'll maybe demonstrate specifically how to explore and change something that someone's not satisfied with, if there's something like that. Okay? So, another 15 minutes. Maybe you could take a little break too, huh? How about a 5-minute break and then 15 minutes of exercise?